And welcome, folks, to another edition of On Point with Victor. You are tuned in to America's Web Radio, and I am Victor Armendariz, coming to you today. Great day out there, another hot one today, but folks, don't get used to this. It's going to change. If you're in an area where it's still 90 degrees plus, don't worry, it's going to change, and then you're going to be complaining that it's too cold. Because, folks, look, when it comes to climate change, if it ever stops changing, then it'll be time to worry. So don't buy into all this crap that you're hearing about this and that about the global warming and the climate change. You got nothing to fear right now. But if there ever stops becoming the changing of the seasons, or if the seasons ever stop changing, then you're going to want to worry. But take it from me, you heard it right here. It will be cold, and it will be cold soon. So, all right, we got a lot to get to today. One of the first things I want to mention today is, I don't like to talk much about the fake Hispanic O'Rourke. This guy just gets on my everlasting nerve. But I have to say, so fake Hispanic O'Rourke I can pretty confidently say he's never going to be president. But he just might get in an introduction into the presidential sales club, because he has got to be the hottest AR-15 salesman, or at least the AR-15 salesman of the year right now. There was a gun store, I believe it was in Arizona, and stay tuned for after my show, because Roger will probably have the details on this. But there's a gun store out there that ran an ad and did a special on AR-15s and other weapons that they called it the O'Rourke special or something to that nature, and they sold out within 2 days. So this is the greatness of America. This is the greatness of capitalism. This is the greatness of the free market. This is what I love about the American people, because you have a fake Hispanic out there, O'Rourke, who was elected. This guy was a congressman, folks. If you don't know him, he was a congressman. He was elected by people in Texas. I don't know what they were smoking at the time they elected him, but he was elected. And he served in Washington. He was a congressman. And then he ran, everybody knows, he ran against Ted Cruz and actually made it a way closer race than it should have been. But he ran for Senate in 2018. And he made it a close race against Ted Cruz. But he lost. And then, of course, then he jumps into the presidential race now. And if you watch the last debate, he stood there at the camera and basically said, hell yeah, we're going to take your AR-15s. This guy, the fake Hispanic O'Rourke, is telling you, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to pay attention. He is telling you what the Democrat Party believes. O'Rourke has had the courage in his ever-ending quest to make himself relevant. Because, look, the guy is at the bottom of the bottom. He's not polling well at all. He probably won't make the next debate. As CNN and MSNBC and the rest of them, along with the Democrat Party, as they start to really, really make it harder and harder for these Democrats to make the debate stage, O'Rourke's going to be out soon, and he knows that. So he's throwing out and doing what he can to make himself relevant. And by doing so, he is unveiling what the Democrats all believe. And that's what I want you to take from this mess that O'Rourke, what he's out there saying. Don't just pass him off as a kook. He is saying what the Democrat Party believes. The Democrat Party wants to come after your guns. And O'Rourke has the courage to say it, because O'Rourke is trying, once again, he's trying to make himself relevant. He knows that it's the hard left, it's the activists, it's the socialist, leftist, activist wing of the Democrat Party that is going to be excited about voting in the primaries. And he knows this, so he's telling them what they want to hear, but he's telling them what the Democrat Party believes. So we do need to take heed. If you're a Second Amendment loving person, look, if you're a Democrat out there, and I know quite a few of you out there who are gun owners in Georgia, in Arizona, in Arkansas, in Texas, in California, if you're a Democrat and you own a gun, or you want to continue to own a gun, you need to become a one-issue voter. And I don't say this very often, but because of what the Democrat Party is becoming and the way they're coming after guns, the way they are attacking the Second Amendment, I think for once we're going to have to become one-issue voters. And that means you can't vote for a Socialist Democrat Party of today.
Got a question for you.
Yes.
The Democrats are a one-word party. What is that one word? And they're all highly educated people.
Oh, they're academics to the highest degree.
Yeah, and what's that one word that they learned in college?
Socialism, probably.
Impeachment.
Oh, that's the word of the day.
That's the one word that they know.
Yeah.
You can say president, and what do the Democrats come back with? Impeachment. You can say Kavanaugh. What word do they come back with? Impeachment.
Oh, that is the word of the day, the flavor of the day. And if they could impeach the Second Amendment, they would.
Yeah.
But that's a very good point. If you just pay attention, they couldn't take Trump out with saying he's a nasty, mean guy. They couldn't take him out with a fake Russia story. They couldn't take him out. Just every which way they've been trying to take him out, they haven't been able to do it. So now they're going back to, we have to impeach the guy. And if you listen to the Democrats, they'll pretty much tell you if anybody pushes Nadler, Congressman Nadler, and some of these other bozos up there, when they push a little bit and say, well, on what grounds does Donald Trump deserve to be impeached? Some of them, Nadler actually, I know I heard him slip up and say, well, this is just how we have to concentrate on getting rid of him. I mean, we don't have a constitution in this country as a way to just get rid of somebody we don't like. The Constitution was never set up to get rid of your political adversary just because you don't like them. We don't get rid of people just because we lost. If you go back to 2016, Hillary made a big stink about saying Donald Trump would not accept the results of an election. She went on and on. I believe she had ads. I know in the debates, she went on and on every time she got in front of a camera, and she talked about, well, Donald Trump, he's admitting he won't accept the results of an election. We're going to have to be prepared when I win. They were saying all this kind of stuff about how Donald Trump wasn't going to admit defeat. Donald Trump wasn't going to accept what the people said. Donald Trump. Everything she accused Donald Trump of doing, she is doing still to this day, and so is the Democrat Party, which is what I've said before, folks. Those of you who listen to me and have listened to me for a while, if you want to know what the Democrats are up to, just listen to what they're accusing the Republicans of doing. And I'm not sitting here telling the Republicans are perfect, because I have a huge problem with a lot of the establishment Republicans, and I have a very big problem with the Never-Trumpers, who are so-called conservatives in the Republican Party. I can rail on them all day long, and many of you know I will. But when it comes down to talking about today's Democrat Party, folks, we're looking at a party in this country that just because they lost an election, they want to get rid of the president. Just because they feel like the Kavanaugh, the seat on the justice seat. Let me back up. I'm getting ahead of myself. Just because President Trump was able to put Justice Kavanaugh on the bench, they want to impeach. And the reason is the Democrats view the judicial branch as a wing of their party. The Democrats view the judicial branch as, okay, if we can't get our policies legislatively, then we're going to try to get them done through the judicial branch by activism. And so they looked at that bench seat, they looked at that as their seat. And they had it so well planned out that Hillary would be the president and Hillary would be making these nominations. So you have to get into the mindset of today's Democrat Party. They're not operating in the normal constitutional order of the country of which we have built. They're trying to dramatically change things and make it common that, well, we don't like him. He shouldn't have won, so we got to impeach. We don't like Kavanaugh. We've accused him of everything but being a child of God, and there's no proof and no evidence, but we need to impeach him. It's pretty sad. It's sad that we've gotten into this point to where we're allowing a political party to do this. We're allowing a political party to have this kind of power. Folks, the power truly resides with the people, and that's the way it's supposed to be in this country. And I'm going to get into some things later as we get into the topic rundown about what's scary out there. What today, as we look going into 2020, as we look at the future of this country, talking about some of the scary things. And one of my points on the topic rundown today of scary things are the fact that there are people out there who are voting for some of these Democrats. They're voting for people like O'Rourke. They're voting for the fake Indian Warren. They're supporting Socialist Sanders. They're supporting bumbling Biden. It's pretty sad, and I understand if you've been a Democrat all your life, or you think you have been, you have to take off the blinders. You have to look at what these people stand for. When a party is standing up and telling you they want to get rid of fossil fuels, when a party is standing up telling you they want this so-called Green New Deal, but in order to get that you're going to have to suffer pain. When a party looks at you and says, we want to own your health care, we want to own you. When a party says that, it's time to get away from that party. And the only way to bring the Democrat Party back to what it was of, say, the Kennedy days is going to be, let's just say, slapping them across the face. And the way to do that is through the voting box. These people need to be defeated, and they need to be defeated astronomically. Every one of these people running, whether it's a House race, a Senate race, the presidential race, your local your local government race, these Democrats need to be defeated. Now, I am not telling you to go run to the Republican Party. If you've got a state government, you're sitting in Georgia, you're sitting in Arkansas, you're sitting in California, you're sitting in Texas, and you're in a local area, and you're about to go into 2020, and you've got to elect your city council, you've got to elect your state representative, your state senator. I'm not telling you to run to the Republican Party, but you can sure look at the Libertarian Party. You can look at some independent candidates, and of course, look at your Republican Party. Demand that these guys get their, let's just say, their outlook right. Go back to the Constitution, because the Democrats aren't going to do that. And until they start to lose, it's the only thing they'll understand is losing. The Democrats will understand that. Okay, folks, we're going to go to our first break here, and when we get back, I'm going to get into the topic rundown. So you hang tight. We will be right back. This is On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
Get your pen and paper ready. If there is a move in your near future, I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is a Raintown Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
Quick Stakes, that's Q-U-I-K Stakes, are not just for surveyors. They are great for family and community gardens. Go online to www.quickstake.com or contact your local land surveying supply dealer and get you a box of Quick Stakes. You'll love them every year when you plant your garden. Again, that's Quick Stakes, Q-U-I-K Stakes, the truly preferred way to stake and identify what's in your garden now.
Want to ace your upcoming survey exam? The NLC Prep Combo has everything you need to help you crush your upcoming FS, PS, Florida PSM, California PLS, or Texas RPLS exam. Combos include a full-length practice exam book with the same number of questions and category types as the actual exam, a pre-programmed HP35 with 17 programs to solve those time-consuming equations such as COGO, triangles, traverses, and more in seconds. A complete online course is included that covers every topic of the exam with videos, workbooks, quizzes, and a full-length practice exam that simulates the computer-based format of the FS and PS exam. That gives you not just one, but 2 full-length practice exams to help fully prepare you for test day. Visit us at nlcprep.com for more information and let us help you crush your exams.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. This is On Point with Victor. I am Victor Armendariz. So before we went to break, I mentioned some scary times, and going into 2020. I'm not just talking about what faces the country from the outside, and we'll get into some of that in a little bit. But part of the scary things that I'm talking about are the fact that, like I mentioned before break, that some of these radical Democrats are getting elected. The Omars, the Rashids, the I'm going to forget the other girl's name, and Ocasio-Cortez and Nadler. Look what Nadler is doing. These people are getting elected. The fake Hispanic O'Rourke. He almost beat Ted Cruz. I mean, that would have been such a travesty. But these people are winning, and that's kind of scary because that means a lot of American people are being fooled. And again, I don't want you to be fooled by the Democrats. I don't want you to be fooled by the Republicans, the establishment Republicans, the never-Trumper Republicans. They're putting themselves first. They're putting themselves before the people of this country. And that is what's got to stop. And the only way to get through to these elected officials is to throw them out. And that's why I tell you, look for that independent candidate, look for that libertarian candidate, look for the Republican that you like. Folks, there are some good Republicans that are running that are not running as establishment Republicans, and the establishment Republicans that are in Washington can't stand them. They didn't like me when I ran. They're not going to like some of these other people that are running in 2020. Pay close attention to my show in the future weeks, as I will have more candidates come and speak to me, and I'll speak to any candidate that is brave enough to come in here. Whether they're Democrat, Republican, conservative, independent, establishment Republican, doesn't matter to me. I will bring them in. And listen, folks, if you have a candidate that you want to come in on this show and sit with me and have a debate or get their platform out, contact them and tell them to contact the On Point with Victor show. And they can do that by emailing victor@americaswebradio.com or emailing gm@americaswebradio.com, gm@americaswebradio.com. Have your candidate of your choice, if you like them, have them contact me. I will bring them on. I will challenge them. I'm not going to play footsies here with any candidate, no matter what party they're in. Now, you guys know me. I'm not going to be mean. I don't believe in doing that. I'm not going to play gotcha, any of none of that. But I do want candidates to come in and sit down with me and let the people know where they stand. There will be no questions given ahead of time. There will be no agreed upon topics. There will be no topic that can be deleted from discussion. If a candidate tells me that, they're not coming on. Because if you're going to be willing to represent a constituency, then you're not going to come on this show and try to hide something from the constituents that you're trying to get to vote for you. So I'm just putting that out there. So if you find a candidate, or if you're a candidate out there listening to me right now, because I know some of you are, contact me. gm@americaswebradio.com. victor@americaswebradio.com. I will get you on. I want to talk to you. But we're not going to sugarcoat anything, and we're not going to delete any topics. We're going to talk about where you stand, because the American people got to know. Because, folks, we the people still have the power in this country, and the only way to get that message to Washington and to bust that Washington bubble is to start sending different people to Washington. We've got to get, and I mean that for both sides, especially, though, for the Democrats. I'm hard on the Democrats because today's Democrat Party has gone full-on socialist. And I'm sorry, when you are a member of Washington or a member of the candidate elite, and what I mean by that is if you are a candidate and you're running and you want to represent this country in Washington, and you're going to tell me that you're going to take over my health care, you're going to take over what I eat, you're going to take over what I drive, you're going to tell me where I can live, you want to tell me just one thing after another that you're going to control. You want to take away my right to self-defense. It's one thing after another with today's Democrat Party, folks, and it's got to stop. I understand if you believe the Democrat Party is better for the gay people, if you believe the Democrat Party is better for the Hispanic people, if you believe the Democrat Party is better for the black people, it's time for you to wake up, because that may have been true, and I'm not saying it is true, but that may have been true in the Kennedy era and before. But it's not true today. And I sit here today as a fellow Hispanic who would never vote for a Democrat today. Not today. Not today's Democrat. And again, when you're coming after my health care, when you're telling me you want to control the economy, when you're telling me you want to tax the bejesus out of everybody, that's not a good platform. That's not something I want to get behind. And no American should get behind that. Now, if that means we need to swing the pendulum over and throw out a lot of Democrats and get some Republicans elected, then I think we need to do it, because that's what's going to get the Democrats back in line. If you're so beholden to the Democrat Party, they're taking you for granted. So the only way for you to get that power back is to throw them out, swing that pendulum to the Republican side, and then we'll start working things out. And trust me, folks, I kid you not. That's what we need to do. And what have you got to lose? We went through 8 years of a previous administration with a stalemate of an economy. We went through 8 years of a previous administration being told that slow growth was the new norm, that no jobs was the new norm. Now they're telling us open borders needs to be the new norm. These are bad policy, folks, and they're going to bring this country down. They're going to create poverty. And that's not something we should do in this country. We should be elevating everyone. And that's what's been happening in the last 2.5 years. Whether you like President Trump or not, his policies are working. If you're a never Trumper out there, everything you've so-called been fighting for, Trump has enacted. So the performance of the policy of the last 2.5 years, you cannot deny. And when policy is put into effect, I don't care who does it. I don't care if it's Democrats or Republicans or Libertarians or Independents. When that policy works and helps the American people, and I mean wages are going up. That's happening today. Unemployment is falling. That's happening today. Hispanic unemployment is through the roof. That's happening today. Black unemployment through the roof. That's happening today. If you're a black voter out there, you're having one of the easiest times ever to find a job, to fend for yourself, to become independent, to take care of your family. That's happening today under President Donald Trump and his policies. The policies are enabling these things to happen. If you are a woman today, it's never been a better job market. That's happening today. So we're going beyond words. The actions of the policy, the results of the policy is benefiting every so-called victim group that the Democrat is trying to hold hostage. So that's why I'm telling you today to let the Democrat Party go. A lesson needs to be learned or needs to be taught to the Democrat Party today. And the only way you're going to do that is by letting them go. Look, the black population votes for Democrats about 90% of the time. or about 90% of the black population votes Democrat. Probably 70% or so of the Hispanic population votes Democrat. If you believe you are a victim group, if you believe that you're being held back and you want to blame politicians and you want to be beholden to the Democrat Party, then you got to send them a message, because they're ignoring you. They take, especially if you're a black voter out there, the Democrat Party's taking advantage of you the most. And if you're a Hispanic voter out there, the Democrat Party is taking advantage of you the second most. The only way to bring them back to check is to let them go. Vote for that Republican. Give him a chance, because you can always throw him out. Vote for the Libertarian. Give him a chance. You can always throw him out. Vote for the Independent. Give him a chance. You can always throw them out. You vote every 2 years for your representative. And to continue to vote for a Democrat who has been promising you the same thing year after year after year after year. The Democrat is the one that tells black people that they're victims. The Democrat tells Hispanics that they're victims. The Democrat tells the gay population that they're a victim. The Democrats tells you, the whatever group you want to name, that you're a victim. The only people that aren't a victim in this world today in the Democrats' eyes are the white people. So it's got to be pretty hard today to be a white guy. So I think there was a song out there. I'll think of it later. But it's got to be hard to be a white guy in these times, even a white woman, unless you're a fake Indian and you do what Elizabeth Warren did. But understand the point here, folks. I've kind of got off on this tangent here and gotten away from what today's show is going to be, and I'll get back to that. But this is important. This is important. You have all the power in your hands through your vote. None of these Antifa idiots out there that are running around have got your interest at heart. None of these protesters who get paid to protest, that's their job. They don't have your needs or anything that really relates to you. They don't have you in mind. You know what's best for you. And let me tell you, you're being taken advantage of. So it's time to slap the Democrat Party down a few notches. And we can do it together. We the people can do it together. And we can really, really, really get things changed just through our vote. All right, folks, hang on right there. We're going to be right back. Short break here. You're listening to On Point with Victor. This is America's Web Radio.
The Docs for Patient Care Foundation is your way to join the fight and become a member of an organization created by doctors for patients, dedicated to fighting for your healthcare freedom and preserving the doctor-patient relationship. Get a pen and paper. Write down docs4patientcarefoundation.org. That's DOCS, the number 4, patientcarefoundation.org. Go to our site and please make a generous tax-deductible donation and join the fight today. Thank you.
Your auto love and investment demands the best, and for 45 years, Passport Transport has been meeting those demands. From manufacturers to the one-car collectors and all other facets of the auto industry and antique auto hobby. The first and the finest with unequaled service and peace of mind. Passport Transport, your auto transportation company. Contact PassportTransport.com with your need today. Passport Transport.
This is David Donaldson with the Atlanta Healing Center, conveniently located in Lawrenceville, Georgia. At AHC, your success is our goal. Addiction recovery is about more than just not using. It's about becoming a whole person and addressing all aspects of your physical, psychological, and social needs. Please call us at 770-696-9862, or you can reach us on the web at www.atlantahealingcenter.com.
This is Ron Camacho, host of the Business Hour, on Fridays from 10 to 11 a.m. Join me as I talk with passionate professionals on a program that profiles the best businesses, business professionals, business practices, and fascinating individuals to get an insider view of how America works. 10 to 11 a.m. on America's Web Radio.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is On Point with Victor. You are listening to, we're back. This is On Point with Victor. You know, folks, it's a live show. It doesn't always go as planned. So we're going to move on to we've got some major topics that I do want to get to, a couple of big ones. But right now, we've got a caller that I want to bring on the line. Larry, are you there?
Yeah, Victor, how you doing?
Excellent. Good. How are you doing today, Larry?
I'm doing fine. Just dealing with the odds and ends happening in my life. But
excellent. So, Larry, you call it a great time because I was just about to go into a little bit about Iran.
Okay.
If folks, just in case you didn't hear about it, so Iran launched 10 drones. Now, understand this: 10 drones. They were able to control 10 drones armed with missiles, fly over and attack a Saudi pipeline. They knocked out 5% of the Saudi's oil production. They did it with 10 drones from, I can't remember the distance. So they were undetected, fired the missiles, destroyed 5% of Saudi's oil. Now, Larry, what comes to me immediately is, okay, let me deviate a little bit. I like Rand Paul, but I disagree with him on the isolationism that I think he leans too much towards. And I was I've been supportive of Trump for being very restrained. But when Iran shows that they can take 10 drones armed with missiles, take out a Saudi oil field undetected, we need to take note of that. The world should take note of that, because Larry, what happens when they perfect their ballistic missile, when they perfect that technology and then they get a nuke? Larry, what do you think they would do?
Well, I think if they got a nuke, then we'd be in kind of in trouble. They'd be like in a box with like North Korea, because we know they'd use it if they had it. I think what's happening is Iran is obviously a terrorist country, and they're hurting right now. The sanctions that the President Trump has kept on them has caused them to go desperate, do desperate things. And I think the proper thing is not for us to military respond. We've sold weapons to Saudi Arabia. They have the weapons to take care of this. They need to respond. And so we can kind of back them up a little bit, but they pretty much take the lead on this because it was their country.
Exactly. But Larry, you're a former Navy, correct?
Correct.
So do you know where the 5th Fleet resides?
7th is out of Hawaii. 5th, I'm not sure off the top of my head.
It resides in. Don't worry, I didn't know either.
It's going to be on the West Coast because it's an odd number.
Actually, it's in Bahrain. Yeah.
Okay, that would be. I was stationed there, but I didn't think it was 5th. I can't remember if it was 5th.
Yeah, I believe it. You know what, Larry? I could be wrong, but I believe it's the 5th.
No, you could be right, because 7th leaves out of Hawaii, or whatever, Pacific Coast. Or
mm-hmm.
I know the even number is going to be on the West Coast or East Coast.
So we have a fleet parked there in Bahrain, and if anybody wants to, if you're not familiar with Bahrain, pull up a map and look where Bahrain is. Larry, what do you think Iran would do with those drones, with nukes?
Well, I think they're trying to, because again, like they're desperate or anything else. What they did is when they attacked Saudi Arabia, they took out, I think Saudi Arabia provides 5% of the world's oil supply, but I think they took out more than 5% of their Saudi capability. Yeah. They took out one factory, whatever, manufacturing refinery that produced 50% of, for that company. I think the company's name is Arabia.
Yeah, they provide a lot of oil to Asia.
Okay. Well, you got to look at what that did. Aramco was the main manufacturing that they took out. 3 weeks ago, or back in August, Aramco tried to get an IPO, and they got several banks, not Chase Manhattan, but several of the major banks around the world and in the U.S. to try and do an IPO. By hitting that refinery and shutting it down by 50% of their production, it hurts the pressures of that IPO actually going online. Because Saudi Arabia needs oil to be at a certain price per barrel. And because it's not, I think it's like $80 a barrel for Saudi Arabia to be profitable. Mm-hmm. And when it's below $80 a barrel, they're not profitable. And that's why you saw a couple of years ago, Saudi Arabia for the first time offered bonds to try and make up the shortfall in what they have on money. And so they, with the United States having doing this shell to oil production, and now we're the leading producer of oil. That's keeping the oil supply below $65 a barrel. That's hurting Saudi Arabia and other oil-rich nations from making their bank that they need to do to keep the people at ease.
Right.
And so that's why you see this is going to hurt. Saudi Arabia, for the first time, took on debt back in '76 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
They actually took on debt.
Wow. Wouldn't it be nice if we were used to not taking on debt in this
country?
Well,
with the oil being high, because they were able to cover everything.
Well, right.
They got rich.
Well, they were, and everybody depended on them, including the U.S.
Correct. That's why you saw everybody always caving to Saudi Arabia, and they said about oil. They were caving to Saudi Arabia. You got to look back why we backed Saudi Arabia. This was back in Nixon did this. Mm-hmm. When we went off the gold standard, Nixon had a deal because before you could buy oil in any currency, and I guess I'm getting back up further. When you look at World War II, after World War II, all these Asian nations, the European nations were in turmoil. The only one who was strong was the United States, and the Soviet Union was then trying to take over Eastern Europe. And so everybody had to then fall to the U.S. currency because we were the only ones that were not in shambles. Then you had we were on the gold standard, so our money was backed by something.
Right.
Then Nixon and the people in government and everything else, they got greedy. The people, power players, they want to do more. And if you're tied to gold, you're limited in how much money you can produce. And so they said, well, we're never going to just print money willy-nilly, although that was the plan. So he took us off the gold standard, but in order you have to have your money tied to something. The agreement was with Saudi Arabia and the royal family that they would only sell oil based in U.S. dollars. And so that established the United States as being the world currency, U.S. dollars being the world currency. And because of an agreement back then. And our agreement was they would sell only in U.S. dollars if we protected the Saudi Arabia and the royal family.
Right.
So so now when now they're losing money and now we're able to make up the shortfall.
Right.
You have risk of maybe not being the world currency. I think we still will be because you look at, I think it was like 99% of all international bank transactions go through U.S. servers and are converted in U.S. dollars.
Right.
And the reason is because we have so many regulations and monitoring how our bank transactions are done, we don't have our finger in the till. Where if you look at China and Russia and these communist and socialist nations, their governments have their finger in the till and they're taking a percentage of the pie of the money that gets transferred goes through their currency.
Oh, absolutely.
And so no businesses want to do it in their currency. They want to do it in U.S. dollars because we have so many regulations that keep that from happening. So we could still be the world currency simply by making a regulation that anything going through U.S. Transactions happen through U.S. servers must be in U.S. dollars.
Right,
but,
and that will probably remain the same unless
I would hope so.
Unless the fake Indian Warren gets elected, which we can get into later. Because
and see, look at the 92%. I was researching today. 92% of oil purchases were in U.S. dollars.
Wow.
Around the world.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's a whole nother. Those are very
Gave
very.
You a lot to think about, didn't I?
Right. Well, no, because. You always do, Larry. You always do. But no, that's a great point of history that just doesn't get taught. You're not going to see the media go over what you just went over, Larry, and it's great, and that's why I love it having you call in. But it's right, and when you look at where we are today, where we've come in 2.5 years to be energy independent.
That's all because of Trump.
It is all because of President Trump. Larry, I hate to think of what would happen if Hillary had been elected, because we would be sitting here today with $5, $6, $7 gas go probably on its way to over $8. Because
you wouldn't see the shell, you wouldn't see the expansion in the pipeline. Like President Trump just announced today, he was we're pushing for this pipeline in Texas.
Right. And that's that's another thing. I went off on some tangents in the beginning of this show. And that's another reason right there to walk away from the Democrat Party, is because if the Hillarys and the Obama people were still in control today, we would be suffering really bad right now because we would still be dependent on the Middle East. And we would be sitting here today with gas lines. We would be sitting here with on our way to $8 plus a gallon. My gosh, California would probably be over $10 by now. And it would be because we would be beholden to them. And then the Democrat Party, knowing this, would still shut down fracking. They would still shut down drilling permits. They're not going to allow refinery permitting. They wouldn't allow pipelines. I mean, Larry, where do these socialist, Green Party, Democrat liberals, where do they think they're going to get the power to power their charge their batteries for their electric cars.
I don't think they consider that. They'll still have, because they'll be working for the government, they'll still have access to their own fuel farms. So they'll still be able to move about. You look at all your communist nations, and the people are living poor as can be. Look at Zimbabwe, but the government can still move around where they want. It doesn't affect them because they maintain control of it.
And that's a great point, Larry, because whenever you look at socialism, it's never, ever, ever for the elitists. When Bernie Sanders talks about we're going to have to endure pain when we take over your health care, Bernie Sanders will look at you right on that CNN camera and tell you that we're going to have some pain when I outlaw private insurance. He says that. But, Larry, who's the one person that's not going to feel any of that pain?
Well, Bernie's a millionaire,
Sanders.
and he's done nothing but work for the government his entire life.
Yeah, but he'll never have to endure any of the growing pains that he talks about. None of the elitists will. The government elite and their buddies in the big corporate America where the crony capitalism happens, which the Democrats always accuse the Republicans have, but my goodness, if you really want to get down to who's in bed with corporate America and just promoting crony capitalism, it's the Democrat Party. And these people would never, ever suffer. Just like, Larry, when I talk about education, you and I have talked about this before. The people's kids will have to endure indoctrination, but the elitist children, all the Washington kids, they get to go to the best, most expensive private schools out there, and we pay for it.
Oh, yeah.
So it's just...
here's the thing. When they want to do free college, think about this. They say they want to do free college and waive everybody's debt. Well, what about the people who don't go to college? They go to a trade school. They go to They say, I want to go work in the fields right now. I don't want more schooling. But that means those people who made chosen different paths and can be just as successful. You have more millionaire chefs than you do rappers, music stars.
Mm-hmm.
But these people are they're going to be taxed now. They're going to be paying for other people to go to college and they chose not to. So now you're penalizing someone who didn't go to college, making them pay for someone who did go to college.
So once again,
and that's wrong.
Well, once again, we're going to punish success. We're going to punish achievement. We're going to punish productivity because you may have wanted to skip college, go to a trade school, or get out there and start doing your trade or invent the next best farming piece of equipment. Who knows? But you'll do that and succeed, and then you'll be punished for it. Larry, hang on right there if you can.
Sure.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, folks. You're listening to On Point with Victor, America's Web Radio.
45 years of experience is behind the most trusted name in auto transportation. Passport Transport, the first and finest today. That's why Passport Transport is the preferred auto transport for major auto manufacturers, concours, museums, tours, and collectors, and should be your choice from across the state to across the country. When you have the need, go to PassportTransport.com and enjoy the peace of mind referenced experience will give you. Passport Transport.
Here's a move in your near future. I'm here to tell you that the folks I used and now recommend is Around Town Movers. Timothy and the guys recently moved me, and I am and was totally satisfied with a sometimes not so fun experience moving. Call Timothy at 770-378-4708 and make it a good move and a good experience. Around Town Movers for that local or cross-country move. Timothy, Around Town Movers, in my opinion, are the best. That's Around Town Movers. Call them.
You're listening to America's Web Radio on the AmericasBroadcastNetwork.com. Thank you for listening.
And we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I have on the phone Larry Gause. Larry, real quick, let's get through a couple more things before you have to get off the phone because I know you're going to have to go soon. Real quick, what do you think our reaction to Iran should be?
Well,
or response? What should our response be?
I think that we will back Saudi Arabia and what they need, but Saudi Arabia needs to take the lead.
Okay.
I think we need to, and then continue the production of oil to make up any shortfalls that they have.
See,
I think the president behind the scenes needs, because there's an agreement was made between the president of the United States with the royal family, needs to be talking to that royal family about what can do to help them, because of the fact that they had, keeping the U.S. dollar. We can always at any point, because we control the servers or the currency, things being traded in U.S. dollars, kind of can keep that in check. But I think we just need to let the royal family in the Saudi Arabia, they need to respond, and we'll back them up where they need to when they request our help. But they have to formally request it.
See,
they have to take the lead, so it doesn't look like the United States is trying to take over everything.
Right. I agree 100%, and this is where I'll agree with Rand Paul. We don't need to police the world, but where I deviate from Rand Paul is I believe what can be done behind the scenes, and maybe Rand Paul believes this. Who knows? But 100%, Larry, you are correct.
They have to announce it. They have to actually make people hear them.
Right.
We need the United States to help us.
The Saudi will publicly have to go and ask, and do it in front of any camera, and in a statement they'll have to ask. But what we can do now is, through the power that we have and the military might that we have in the Middle East, I think we need to help Saudi. Let Saudi be the face, and a response is going to have to be made. But I agree, it needs to be the Saudis, because they were the ones attacked. We can fend for ourselves right now. We are the leading producer of oil now, so I think we should offer to cover the Saudi. And here's the thing I would do. I would offer a discounted Saudi price. I would work something out with them so that we can cover them, so there's very little disruption to the flow of their oil and the sales they were making. We could pick up that slack, and that's going to put pressure on Iran. Look, Larry, I think you'll agree with me that Iran is like a petulant child. Iran is the child who's throwing a tantrum every chance they can get because they want the sanctions. They want the sanctions lifted. Iran, the only thing the Ayatollah goofballs care about is their lifestyle, their money. They don't care about their people. But they do care about the money and their lifestyle. And the only way they're going to keep that up is to get these sanctions reduced or lifted.
Well, the people are rising up. In fact, before Obama lifted everything, it was already looking at possibly regime change.
Right.
The sanctions were working that were put in place beforehand, and he released them. And then don't forget, Obama gave them, $150 billion in unmarked bills and gold on pallets in the middle of the night.
On a pallet in the middle of the night on the runway.
And no one in Congress has yet, especially the Democrats, has told me where that money came from.
Nope.
Where you got that? But so the people are rising up. So just keep those sanctions, go even harder with them, and don't let up on that. And people don't understand. One more point I want to make real quick. In the United States, for our production, they just got released last week or whatever, a month ago. We have 1.8 trillion barrels of oil through this shale production available. That will cover the United States with energy for the next 1,000 years, they predicted. That includes with growth. So we're fine. So, so we just got to look at how to, bring other people in check there, because we can make up the shortfall. That's why President Trump said today, we'll fill up, we have these reserves and we'll pump them right back because we're producing so well.
Yeah, and he announced also that he was going to release some of the reserves to counterbalance any price increase, just because the markets are freaking a little bit. And I think it won't take long before everybody realizes that we are covering that slack and we are going to have Saudis back. And that people are going to understand every day, more and more every day, that the United States is self-sufficient now. The United States is not dependent on Middle Eastern oil, and that makes such a, oh my goodness, Larry, the security standpoint that we're in right now, because of the fracking and because of where we are with the last 2.5 years, people just don't understand what that means. I really think.
Oh, absolutely. This is a good thing that what President Trump has done since he's been in office, making us energy independent and keeping us out of all these other problems and conflicts.
Absolutely, because Trump can stand there. Here's the other funny thing, Larry. Donald Trump can act with restraint like he is because of his policies. Because he has aided in making us energy independent is the reason why we can do what every Democrat says they want. Every Democrat says they want restraint. Every Democrat says they don't want war. They don't want innocent people killed. Well, you have a president right now and a United States right now that is powerful and independent enough to where we can sit back and go, okay, let's analyze what we need to do. There's no rash bombings we need to make. And to all the hawks out there, look, I understand where they're coming from, but I don't even think they understand the power that we're in right now. And I understand the Larry, they fear that we're going to show weakness. While if we did nothing, if we didn't push Saudi to do something, then yes, I think we're going to show weakness. But I do think that the Saudis will do something and we will have their back. And I think that's the way to go.
Well, think about it with their energy independence. Back in March of this year, what did OPEC and them do? They said they're going to reduce the production of oil because they needed to bring the price of oil back up. It was at $50 a barrel, and they said we're cutting back on the production of oil, and that raised the price up to $65. Well, what did Trump do? We're going to allow for increased production of oil, and that brought them back down because Saudi wanted to get the oil up to $80 a barrel. They need to be at $80 a barrel to be
to live the life that they've been living. Yes, exactly.
And so by Trump increasing production, it kept the price per barrel from going above 65.
Right.
And that's what's hurting. It's like, holy crap, what are we going to do now? Because they used to always control. You always saw how the OPEC would meet, and we're limiting production, and they were doing, and it was all to keep the money per barrel where it made them the most profit.
Absolutely, and we have a comment
and
from...
now they can't do that.
I think we have a comment coming here from David.
You know, this will... Well, you mentioned it a minute ago, Victor, about having Saudis back. You know, I would hope Trump would stand up and say, okay, yeah, we've got your back, but it's going to cost you. And collect this time. You know, how much have we gotten out of Kuwait for bailing them out?
0.
How much have we gotten out of Saudi for protecting them?
Pretty much 0.
Pretty much 0.
I mean, when you look at it.
That's a good point, David.
You know, I'm getting tired of going in any place and protecting anybody's back, particularly like a Venezuela or any place else that has had plenty of money. And certainly Saudi and Kuwait.
Right.
And
Iraq.
And Iraq.
You know, that's a great point. And, Larry, that makes me think of a good strategy that we can tell President Trump. Maybe he needs to put some, as David says, we should demand a return. And that return can be, okay, Saudi, you need to let your girls go to school. You need to start letting women be educated.
I think David makes an excellent point, that because we haven't really been getting, because keep in mind, half of the hijackers came from Saudi.
Right.
Whatever. So they have their own idea on their regime, what they want to do. Hey, interesting point. Now I got to get going real quick.
Okay.
For you look at border security and anything else, and we have with our country. I just found out today, whatever, I was reading an article from the book's coming out today from the editor of Breitbart, that we spend 10 times more on protection, wall, border for security for other nations, foreign governments, than we do on our own security.
It's crazy.
And so we need to get something out of this. Anyways,
Absolutely.
I got to go. Thank you for letting me call in.
Absolutely, Larry. You have a great day, and say hello to the girls.
All right.
So, folks, that's some very good points, and just like David said, we do need to start demanding some type of return. Because for years, people are used to the United States rushing in and saving the day, or the United States standing up behind somebody else so they can stand up to their adversary. And it's about time that we get paid. And when I say get paid, maybe that means, like I said a while ago, it's time for Saudi to stop and get rid of some of their archaic laws that they hold on their people. It's time for them to flush out any remaining terrorist out of that country. These are some things that we really should do. And so, David, that was a great point, and no wonder your nickname is the Legend. So, folks, that we those are just when we look, every issue has a lot of points. So don't get bogged down when you're hearing one side tell you that everything's going to hell in a handbasket, and then you hear the other side that says, oh, we've got to go blow them into eternity. Because the answer lies in the middle. And when you look at Iran, we have Iran on the ropes. They are on the ropes. Their economy is in shambles. And believe me when I tell you, and history is on my side, the only thing the Ayatollahs in Iran care about is their lifestyle. The Ayatollahs and the elite in Iran Do not live like the people in Iran. They have everything they ever want. They have every American, everything we enjoy here in America, the Ayatollahs have. The money, the food, the transportation, the Rolls Royces, the BMWs, that you name it, the planes, they have it. They don't always show it, and our media is complicit in not showing you a lot of these things. But these people, the Ayatollahs in Iran, care about their lifestyle, and the only way they can maintain that is to be given money. Let's like the $150 billion that the Obama administration dropped on Iran's runways. That was ridiculous because all it did was lift those Ayatollahs and keep them in power. They didn't give any of that money to the people. You think they put incubators anywhere to help Iranians grow their businesses? Hell no. That money stayed with the Ayatollahs. That money stayed with the elitists. And so we've got to understand when we look at Iran that right now we've got them on the ropes. We don't need to go blowing them into oblivion right now. We just got to keep doing what we're doing with the sanctions. We've got to also put more pressure on them because there's certain things that aren't being sanctioned that we need to go ahead and do. We need to stand with the people when they start to rise up because they're starting to do that. We will hopefully stand behind Saudi. Saudi does need to take the lead. They deserve to be able to protect their territory, and their territory was attacked. And I think President Trump, knowing him like I think I know him, I believe, and I just mean by the type of person I think I know that he is, I believe they're going to go in, and Donald Trump will be behind Saudi, and something's going to happen. They will retaliate in an appropriate way, and then we will continue these sanctions. And look, if we keep this strong and we reelect President Trump in 2020, I would almost predict that Iran is going to go through some big changes in the next 4 years, and it's going to be a good thing. It's going to help this country and the security of the world. So, folks, I think I'm going to have to leave it there. We're getting close to the end of the show. There's a few things I know I didn't get to. One of the topics I wanted to get to was journalism. Is it dead? When you go look up a story the New York Times did, a hit piece on Kavanaugh. It was a story that ended up being 100% not true, 100% not verified, no evidence, but yet they put this out there so they could create a narrative that the media could run with to try to impeach Kavanaugh. It is absolutely ridiculous what journalism has turned into, and we'll have a discussion on this maybe next week because journalism has effectively died. When you've got fake story after fake story after fake story coming out of CNN and MSNBC, and now the New York Times, well, it's not the first time the New York Times did it, then we have a problem with journalism. And it's sad, folks, and look, we have the First Amendment, so I'm not saying to change anything. I'm just saying that we as people need to be aware of it. So, all right, folks, we got to leave it right there. You guys have a great rest of your week. Tune in next week for On Point with Victor. Stay tuned right now for Locked and Loaded with Roger B. All right, folks, you have a good one. We're listening to America's Web Radio.
This is Ron Camacho.